Hi everyone, welcome to a new video. Today I'm going to explain how I will apply the explanation that teacher Cloud Ava gave according to assessment of learning to a class made by myself. So to begin with, the group of students I will apply this are students from the 8th grade, and the topic is my daily routine. So the main objective of this lesson is that students are going to write three correct sentences describing their daily routines, and they're going to make use of the simple present tense. So this is going to connect very well with assessment of learning, because basically what they're going to do is to demonstrate at the end of the class through a written test if they have improved or if they have done better with the topic of daily routines. So what I'm gonna do as a warm-up is to show them my daily routine. So I'm gonna bring pictures of, for example, a lady brushing her teeth, or maybe I don't know, eating breakfast, for example. That's how I start my morning routine, and they're going to compare and also see how I relate to those pictures, because they are gonna do the same thing. And at the same time, they are going to think about what they're going to say, and also they're going to remember all the things they do through their whole day. For example, I'm gonna ask, what do you do when you wake up? At what time do you wake up? Do you eat breakfast, or do you go to school? And in this way, they're going to remember all those things. And what I'm gonna do next through the guided practice is that I'm gonna give them some prompt, or I don't know, maybe a worksheet where I'm gonna put some sentences with blank spaces, and they had to complete these in pairs. So once they complete that, I'm going to be a monitor in the class, and I'm going to see them. If they have some mistakes, maybe I will give them a few maybe hints, or I will correct them, but everything in a simple way, because in this way I'm gonna make sure that they are ready to do the next activity, which is the main part and the most important one. So focusing on the main topic, which is assessment of learning, what I'm gonna do now is that individually they are going to complete a task where they had to write 5 sentences, correct sentences, describing their daily routine. And maybe I could give them some examples, such as you have to write about your morning routine, maybe what you do after you go home and you are after school. Also, maybe do you shower at night or in the morning? What do you eat for dinner? Things like that. Some hints so they could maybe relate a little bit more, and also, like increase their knowledge or make their mind work. And here I'm gonna measure how they have met with the first learning objective. And in here I'm gonna explain them a little bit about the rubric and how I'm going to grade this assessment, which is basically using good vocabulary, also the sentence structure and accuracy. So if they have completed all these 3 points, that means they are going through a good way. Otherwise, we have to put more focus or attention in that situation. And in this way, this learning objective and explain this to them will make things a little bit easier, and also it's important to let them know how they are going to be graded. So in this way, they have their minds organized, and they know already how I'm going to act in that task. And since it is a summative assessment, I'm not going to help because they have already practiced with me, so it's all on their heads. And I think to sum up everything and to conclude my whole class in this moment, what I will do is that after all of them have finished, what I'm gonna do is maybe explain a little bit to them some of the common errors, such as forgetting the S when it's a third person, for example. That is a very common error. And also another thing that I could explain to them, how I will use their errors to make I don't know, a next lesson, a next task, and how they're going to solve that. And another thing I would do is to ask the student to say out loud an example of a sentence. So basically this is how I will apply assessment of learning in my class. So I need a rubric, also a good written final test, and not final test, but a good test that contain all the information that we have talked already about. And finally, it could be a rubric or maybe evidence of their performance. So in this way, that is also taken into account. So that's how I will apply this into my class. Thank you so much for watching.